Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nirva LaFortune, and I'm Nirva's younger sister, the second to oldest of 5. And yes, my parents compare us to her all the time.
Hi, my name is Nyree, and I am Nirva's daughter. The best one, of course.
Growing up, I always knew that Nirva would end up in politics. Maybe it was how she always challenged my Haitian mother on how her punishments were not justified, or how she would line us all up and convince us to take her side when she wanted something from my dad. But nonetheless, we weren't surprised when she told us she was running for mayor.
You know what, Auntie? My mother running for mayor didn't come as a surprise for me either. I can't remember a time that my mother was not serving the community. From being on Messiah's school board in Philly, to volunteering at hospitals during Christmas season, to being a part of community garden, my mother has always had a soft spot for the community.
Nyree, a lot of people don't know this, but when we were younger, your mother must have been 15 at the time. Pop-Up moved us from a 1-bedroom apartment on the South Side to the house we all love to reunite for Thanksgiving and Christmas in Washington Park. At the time, it was a predominantly white neighborhood, and there was one neighbor that was not very nice to our family. We were harassed on a daily basis, not only because we were Black, but because Pop-Up and Grandma were immigrants living in what they called their neighborhood. I was too young to do anything, and Pop-Up and Grandma spoke very little English. I remember your mother always speaking on behalf of our family to the police every time they showed up. Had it not been her voice, at 15, most of the time, justice would not have been served.
This makes me so proud of my mother, knowing she stood up for her family when they couldn't. And to think of it, I don't think there was ever a time that my mother didn't stand up for people and what was right. I've walked alongside my mother during peaceful protests against gun violence, Women's March in DC. She is a true inspiration to me and many other Black girls. If Black Girl Magic was a person, that would be my mom.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we are all here today because Nirva has been a voice for so many people throughout the trajectory of her life. She has never made excuses, and I have watched her thrive through the most difficult circumstances. I remember when Nirva cut all her hair off and walked right into the religious church we grew up in that didn't believe women should cut their hair. She wore a red suit that day with pearl earrings, proudly making the statement, "I am woman, and I can." There has never been a time where my sister was not serving the community, standing for injustice. She has never missed a moment to bring people together, empowering us to press on, to be resilient people, to hold spaces, and to succeed, no matter the race or the background. Nirva continues to lead by example through her hard work, setting the stage for so many Black girls and women, single mothers, families with Black sons, immigrant women, and so many more. Today, we come together with great joy and hopes that she will not only be the first female, but Haitian female mayor of Providence.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's an honor for me to proudly introduce you to my mother, Nirva Rebecca LaFortune.
Thank you. So I did keep on asking them, what are you going to say in your speech? And they refused to tell me because I did not want to get emotional. But it's funny because my sister has always been an inspiration to me. She is the epitome of love and patience. And I'm so proud to have been a part of a family with Sophonya and my daughter. She's just so precious. She's amazing. So thank you to you both. So Sophonya and Nyree Simone, thank you for this beautiful introduction. And my sister and my daughter, they continue to inspire me, like I said earlier. I have been blessed with a wonderful family and want to quickly acknowledge my son, who's not here today. He's at college studying, I hope. He did text me because something was wrong. I gave him some advice. Hopefully he takes it. I want to also acknowledge my mom, my dad, my aunts who are here, my extended family, my friends, my supporters, community members. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I especially want to thank my parents for setting the foundation in which we have continued to build today. So thank you. So it's so special to have you join me here today in the south side of Providence at the Southside Cultural Center, where my journey in the United States in Providence began. This neighborhood, the West End, Washington Park, and the south side of Providence is where life in America. My whole journey, everything that I worked for, everything that led me here started right in this intersection, in this square mile, when I was just 3 years old. It is so special to have you here to share this moment. And this place where we are standing was a community hub for immigrants from all over the country, all over the world. Let me start by saying I am proud to have grown up in Providence, in this city. I am a proud product of our public schools, from elementary through Mount Pleasant High School. Some of my teachers are here today. I am an immigrant. I am a working mom. I'm an administrator. I'm a community member. I'm a city councilwoman. And today, I am proud to stand before you in the city that I love, the place that started my journey to announce my candidacy to be the next mayor of Providence. Thank you. Thank you. As mayor, I will fight for opportunities for all families in every single one of our neighborhoods. I will create a foundation in our city where everyone can thrive and our city can blossom and grow. I will work hard to keep our city safe. This campaign is our campaign. I want you to say this with me. This campaign is our campaign. I didn't hear you. Let's say it again. Remember, I'm in education. This campaign is our campaign, and it is about our city, our future. I'd like to take a moment for you all to repeat this as well. Our city, our future.
Our city, our future.
Listen, I'm standing here in the sun. You can do better. Our city, our future. Louder. Our city, our future. Now say it like you own it. Our city, our future. Wonderful, thank you. I'll tell you a bit more about why I'm running in a few minutes. But the first thing I want to do is to acknowledge, because I am compelled today to start this speech acknowledging this week alone that there were over 5 shootings in our city. We have seen dozens of murders over the past year and a half, senseless acts of violence that have hurt so many of our community members, so many families in all of our neighborhoods. So I ask all of you just to take a moment of silence to reflect and to think about all who have been impacted by violence and the families that are hurting today. Thank you. Creating opportunities and creating a Providence that is safe for all families go hand in hand. I've sat with too many mothers, too many sisters, brothers, family members, and loved ones who've lost their family to gun violence. I've shared my own personal story. We must make our city safe. We must have a strong police force that is part of our community. And that understands the community that it's serving and is accountable and transparent. We must get illegal guns off the streets. And some of us have been at the State House testifying with me and other groups like Moms Demand and Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. But we have to continue to do the work to get illegal guns off the streets. We must take proactive approaches to prevent gun violence. And we know what those are. And we must recognize that public safety is community policing, is community engagement, is community investments. I will make this a priority because this is our city, our future. Will you join me on this campaign to build a safer Providence? Now I want to get into a bit about my story and what drew me to this place today. It was late 1986 when I stepped out of the car right off of Elmwood Avenue, right down the street, in fact, as an anxious and excited 3-year-old. In my family, my mother, who's sitting in front with the beautiful pink dress, was the first to come to America. She arrived alone in Brooklyn and stayed with family and immediately found a job in the garment industry. My father later followed about 2 years later. I, unfortunately, was not granted travel documentation, and my parents were forced to leave me behind, a common reality for so many immigrant families. I later joined my parents due to the compassion of a stranger who learned of my family's circumstance at a prayer service. She told my father that she would reunite us, and she did. This story of families and individuals leaving their home countries to find refuge in America is one of so many that we all can relate to. Families come here from Europe through Ellis Island or traveled from the Dominican Republic, Southeast Asia, Central America, or Africa, or different parts of the Caribbean. They seek opportunities. They seek safety or to take care of their family back home. They come by plane, by boat, or by foot, and they arrive right here in our city, Providence, carrying nothing but hope and a will and tenacity to build a new life and to also invest in this country and their community. We are seeing this happening right here on our borders. We have Central and South American immigrants or migrants coming here, Haitian refugees stuck under a bridge. They're seeking refuge. They're seeking a better life. And that is why my family came to this country. Life in Providence wasn't easy. We first lived in a rented room in a boarding house on Dexter Street, then rented a 1-bedroom apartment on Dartmouth Avenue. Our family grew to 8 in a tiny unit. My grandmother and my uncles joined us, which you can imagine, a 1-bedroom apartment, 8 people, grandparents. I discovered I had a sister. Then my other sister is born. It was cramped. Our apartment was not well maintained. It wasn't well insulated. And the lot where we lived in, it was zoned to have a restaurant and a bar right there in our yard. So it made for some quite interesting Sunday mornings and Saturdays when we woke up. However, we were taught no matter what was happening around us, what we saw, that we must stay true to ourselves. We must appreciate what we had, and living with honesty and integrity was a must. These principles kept us going. One day, I felt sick. My parents rushed me to St. Joseph's Hospital, where they told me I was anemic. However, My illness persisted and it included dizzy spells. My parents did not have insurance, so they took me to the community health center right on Cranston Street. There, they discovered through tests that my lead levels were significantly high, and I was diagnosed with lead poison. I was enrolled in a lead poison program from pre-K throughout elementary school. And it was through the community health center where I was able to access treatment and to be able to go to St. Joseph's Hospital. At that point, my parents knew they had to work harder to move us out. Like many families today, my mom held multiple jobs. My father had held 2 to 3 jobs. He worked at the factories, as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and an airport skycap. So if any of you went through TF Green Airport, you saw my dad. Eventually, both of my parents became certified nursing assistants and saved enough money to purchase a home where they have lived in Washington Park for 30 years. Now, despite these challenges that my family experienced, you would think things were changed. Yet, in 2021, many of our Providence residents are still living in unhealthy homes. Can you believe that? Homes like our 1-bedroom apartment, many working their fingers to the bones, sacrificing family time, their own mental health at times, yet stable, affordable housing is just out of reach. According to the Housing Works 2020 report, only about 6% of Rhode Island's housing stock or older housing stocks meets lead safe. And as housing costs rise, less housing becomes available. We know families live in perpetual trauma, having to move regularly from one place to the next, even living on the streets. And if you came here and you went around the corner, you see that. We need to make real investments in housing and create a housing stock across the spectrum. Affordable housing, workforce housing, housing for disabled, housing for elderly, housing for those who need continued care, housing for families, and a pathway so that families can have access to purchase their own home like my parents. We have wonderful partners who are doing amazing work in our community. Sojourner House, Amos House, West Elmwood Housing has an incredible model that we should all adopt. Omni Development, One Neighborhood Builders. We need to support and grow their efforts. We need housing. Housing is a human right. There isn't any good reason for any child in the city of Providence to not have access to clean, healthy, sustainable housing. It is unacceptable, and we must change that. This is our city. This is our future. Will you join the campaign to make more safe, affordable, sustainable, accessible housing a reality in our city? My parents worked hard to give us a decent life, but money was scarce. They had 5 children. When you grow up like I did with 8 family members in a 1-bedroom apartment, you learn how to create a budget and make every single penny count. Every single penny count. The city of Providence needs to get its fiscal house in order, and we will not be able to do it through a quick fix. It is going to take time and hard work, and we all know that, but it's possible. As mayor, I will bring parties together, ask for input, and implement solutions. I'm a consensus builder in difficult situations, and as mayor, I will use those skills and will make it a priority. Our pension system is an issue. It must be resolved. And we are not going to do this without coming together as a community. Only by joining forces and taking decisive action will we find our way on a path to a brighter fiscal future. Many of you know I am not afraid to take action. This is our city, our future. Will you join our campaign to create a stronger fiscal foundation for Providence? As I said, life in the city wasn't easy for our family, but looking back, I can also say Providence provided many opportunities. I have fond memories of my childhood. I would sit with my dad in this very building in the basement, where he took English classes with immigrants from around the world. After, my father and I would walk down Elmwood Avenue to Knight Memorial Library to take out books to practice our new language. I remember walking to Washington Park Library with the librarian who lived on our block, going for swims at Buckland Pool on the West End, volunteering at the soup kitchen at St. John's Episcopal Church, and joining the City Years Young Heroes program. As a kid, I volunteered as a Feinstein leader. We met monthly and proposed ideas to the then mayor and members of the city council, made food baskets at John Hope Settlement, or attended lock-ins and activities to get young kids off the streets and engage and build community amongst each other. These activities provided me with the mentors and helped me develop the skills that I am using today to serve my community. They were transformative in my life, and these learning and life lessons will be used as mayor. Many of these programs that inspired me, and some of the new ones that exist today, are holding their hands out to our kids in Providence. They keep kids participating in developmental programs and engaged in a positive way with their community. We need to be sure our young people have access to resources like City Year, PASA, Community Music Works, Arise, PSU, Everett Theater, City Arts, our recreation centers, the Boys and Girls Club, and so many organizations that give them a place to be, a place to grow, a place to create, and a place to dream. This is our city, our future. Will you join me on this campaign to support opportunities for our youth so that they can lead into a brighter future? In the world of education, Providence is sitting at the far end of the bench in school scores and quality of our buildings, in providing access to an equitable education to support those with the greatest needs and differential learning needs. We haven't even made the team. But I have a lot of hope. Why, you might ask? Because I am a product of our schools. My children are in the schools. And I know within the walls of our school buildings, there are hundreds of teachers who are doing amazing work, teachers, administrators, staff, who really care about our children and our city. I would not be standing here if it were not for teachers like Mr. Rayo, Miss Valerie Ranklin, who's sitting here, and Miss Tavares, who taught me discipline and were always there to provide support. Miss Farrow and Miss Berger, who helped me discover who I was and see that I no longer needed to live in the shadows. Miss O'Rourke, who challenged our intellectual curiosity and made math fun. Mr. Saucia, my 12th grade teacher, who is no longer with us, gave us the space to be creative and always reminded us that anything is possible if I aim at it and set my mind to it and work hard. And finally, Miss Rosemary Bernstein, now a retired Providence public school teacher, who rented a minivan
and took a kid from the south side of Providence and her friend from Olneyville and drove them all the way down to Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona Beach, Florida, to embark on a journey that would forever change their lives. She is now in her 80s, and we meet up regularly to have tea. For the most part, these are the type of people working in our schools, in our buildings, and we need to replicate those models. We need some real changes, though, in our schools, like parent and student representation in decision-making, more Black and brown teachers to reflect the makeup of our diverse demographic of students. We need to ensure that our kids have the social, emotional support that they need to thrive and address traumas that they experience on a regular basis. We need to make sure that our school buildings are safe, healthy, and clean, and the support that our students need who have differential learning needs know that they have the tools to be successful. We need measures and accountability. And this work is not even close to comfortable. It's hard. It's very hard. But it's necessary. Our kids are our future. They're our workforce, period. We need to invest in them. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and as mayor, I will work day in, day out to provide quality education opportunities to every single child, regardless of their background, regardless of their socioeconomics, regardless of what neighborhood they live in. It's critical, and I know this because I lived that experience. This is our city, our future. Will you join me on this campaign to ensure that every single child, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of socioeconomics, regardless of learning needs, has a chance to a 21st century quality education? Let's stop talking about it. Let's put a plan to action, stick to it, and do it. So I'm assuming you're with me. One of my favorite things to do growing up was hanging with my Uncle Saul at his tailor shop on Messer Street. He had a diverse clientele. Folks would come in to get their pants hemmed, their skirts, fixed, buttons fixed, or just to talk. He was the first person in my family that I knew to own their own business. Through my time with him at the shop, I saw the role that businesses played in our communities and how they were ingrained as part of the communities they served. Uncle Saul was more than just a tailor. He was a friend. Folks came to him when they had an emergency, when they needed to look their best for a special event, or when they needed a job, just to make a little bit of extra money to make ends meet. He knew everyone by name. He was fluent in English, French, and Creole, and sometimes spoke a little bit of Spanish. He taught me that our local businesses are part of our city's DNA. Our city's business owners and workers are our neighbors. Whether you are on Westminster Street, Reservoir Ave, Atwells Avenue, Broad Street, Hope Street, Smith Street, or North Main Street, every single business in our community is in one way or another part of this community, part of our city. Whether large or small or single owner operated, these businesses are supplying goods and services in our city and supporting our city through taxes and also job creation. And in the last year and a half, most of them have suffered with COVID-19 shutting down our economy, and for many, their dreams. To build our economy back and better, let's support our local businesses who have already invested here. Let's attract new ones by giving them a level playing field and showing them a clear and fair path to investment. And let's invest in our arts and our artists. If you walk around our city and see the murals, sculptures, and pop-up galleries, hear the music, see the marquees, and participate in our wonderful festivals, you will know that arts is part of our economy. And the city and arts and the economy are inseparable. And an important component of our economy is also our human capital. We must assist those seeking employment who live in the city of Providence, who've struggled to find a job or lack the skills for certain opportunities. We must make more accessible workforce training available and match people with opportunities. This way, when quality jobs become available, people are prepared and they can be connected with employers. This is our city, our future. Will you join on this campaign to invest in our local businesses, create opportunities for new ones, to ensure that our residents, our Providence residents, have access to good quality jobs? I hope you will join me on this campaign. There is a lot to be discussed, new ideas to be generated, and a lot to be done. I have a vision about how to make the future work for our city so that it could be brighter. But no one person has all the answers and all the ideas. During the coming months, I will be visiting every single neighborhood in our city. I will go to our businesses. I will listen to your thoughts, your ideas, your vision for the city, your concerns. I want to hear how we collectively can build an even stronger Providence. This campaign must be our campaign. Can you help me say that? This campaign must be our campaign. It must be about the people of Providence, sharing ideas to make this city one of the best, not just in our state, not on the East Coast, but in our nation. We have the bones to make it the best. We need a leader who can move it forward. As I close here today, I wanted to let you know in a bit of a secret. As a runner, I love to run long runs. Now, maybe I don't want to say I love to run long runs, but I enjoy running long runs because it takes me throughout the city, and I love the city of Providence. Each time I run, and I ran with some of my friends who are here right now, early this morning at 7 a.m. Thank you for being with me. But each time I run, I plan a different route to go into different neighborhoods. It's so interesting to move around the city on your feet. It's a beautiful perspective. It brings you to different places. You get to see the world, the city of Providence, through a different lens that you will never be able to see when you're driving. On my feet, I can feel every single neighborhood, the people, the distinctive energy. I pass through bustling coffee shops, playgrounds, and businesses. I play witness to stores closing and those that are opening. I smell the amazing foods cooking at our local restaurants. I see how our businesses come and go. I pass the school buildings before children arrive, and I have experienced the conditions of our sidewalks and our roads. You've all seen me in a boot. Bumps, holes, ice, elevated sidewalks, I've experienced them all. I even find bike paths and pedestrian lanes. I also see those who are sleeping on our streets, living out of suitcases or boxes or bags. Again, these people are right here, right on the other side of this building. But with these runs, what it reveals to me is inspiration, ideas, a vision for the city. I see mixed-use buildings and closed down strip malls, a resilient port, and hurricane barriers to protect our city, our streets, our neighborhoods. I see rehabilitated schools and empty buildings. I see places to plant trees and start a community garden. I see opportunities for housing and accessible healthcare options. I see quiet streets, sometimes deemed as dangerous, but really under stress with the pressure and harshness of life. This city seen on my feet is amazing. It's beautiful, it's enchanting. And I will be the leader that brings us together to make it a brighter place for all of us, regardless of what neighborhood you live in. This is our city, our future. Will you join me on this campaign? I'm not convinced. Will you join me on this campaign? I want to hear it one more time. Will you join me on this campaign? So, as I said earlier, I'm a runner. So this is the starting line. I've ran 200-mile races, I ran marathons, I ran a 50K. This is one of the longest races I will ever run. It's going to be hard. It's going to require tenacity, grit. It's going to require commitment. It's going to require patience. It's going to require empathy. It's going to require love. It's going to require hard work. Will you join me?